Currently, Dr. Stone is on my watch list, and an episode spoke to me on the topic of growing up with poor eyesight, conveyed through the character Suika, and later alluded to Kinro, calling it the fuzzy head disease. Much of Dr. Stone's appeal to me are the callbacks to simpler times. Technologically, the universe regresses to the past, and as a viewer, it harks back to my perspective as a child. Visual interpretation is one of my strongest senses that ties to memories as far back as my time in the crib, where I developed a fear of not being able to see. I know it sounds weird that I remember things that far back.
Who does this guy think he is, Ray from the Promised Neverland?
As a matter of fact, I relate more to Norman, and yes, I am working on his cosplay. As a toddler, sitting up in the crib, crying but no one responding to me, I felt incredibly alone as darkness fell across the room. After a while, I stopped crying because I learned that it was useless.
Muda, 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 muda!
But the fear of the unknowable darkness left its mark. Fast forward to the first grade, and the routine hearing and sight exams revealed that my vision was in fact pretty terrible. No one in my family had to wear glasses before me, but putting a pin in that. My typical family unit consisted of children and a mother. It wasn't until the age of 7 that I learned that the man who would visit from time to time when I was sick or during birthdays was in fact my dad. I'm not trying to make anyone have pity on me. It's just the ultra sheltered life that I was dealt. One day I had to accompany my mother on one of her patrols as it was one of her 2 jobs to work as security and she couldn't arrange a sitter. I distinctly remember this day as my mother doubted the validity of my steadily failing vision tests, so she conducted one of her own tests. While standing on a balcony overlooking the street, she asked me to read back what that sign said. Prior experiences often caused me to rely on memory of seeing the objects from closer up in order to guess what was there or what it resembled. With this being my first time going to this place, I fell silent. My mother exclaimed, "Do you see what I'm pointing at? It's right there in lights!" So I felt the panic to answer correctly. The words, "I don't know," left my lips, only enraging my mother to smack my head and yelling, "Don't lie to me! What's wrong with you?" I cried in silence, too afraid to make things worse and no one to confide in, since I was the only one having this problem. I remember squinting so hard it would give me headaches, left only to think I was going to go blind eventually. First grade came and went, with me progressively getting worse and worse grades in school, until the point came where I couldn't sit close enough to the board to read what was written or placed on the daily lectures. Summer leading into the 2nd grade school year, the man who came by when I was sick or on my birthdays had come by to take me to go see the optometrist to officially get my eyes checked. The process is dated now, but back then a puff of air was blasted into each eye. Then lots of eye drops that would stain clothes were administered before having to read back the clarity challenges, and finally I picked out my first pair of glasses. 2 weeks later, I would return to the optometrist that gave me my first prescription glasses. It was a level of clarity I had never experienced and an overload of vivid color and shapes that was dizzying to get used to. The car ride back home was mesmerizing. To see the individual leaves sway in the wind and see true detail. That was a day that would change my outlook on the world and my ideas of what family is. As a mustached man that would visit more often from then on expressed, "Things are going to be better now you can see. I'm your father and you can tell me what's wrong, okay?" He didn't need glasses often as his vision wasn't nearly as bad as mine. But when I saw him put on his glasses, it reminded me that there is a future I can have without fear, because he was older and he had them too. From then on, my vision, and by extension my glasses, were a simple but highly important facet of my everyday life. It struck a chord inside me, sympathizing with Suika, finally being able to see clearly, with reassurance that life can be a little less scary. I was a sheltered little naive kid trusting my mother's dated beliefs and blunt fury out of frustration from not fully understanding my situation. It's taken years for me to come to terms with how I was raised, and my mother's negative impact has left me with scars, but I harbor no ill will. Her extreme discipline has given me experience to critically think among clashing personalities. That's an inevitability. If there's an opportunity to make someone's life a little less scary, console them with the wealth of knowledge that's out there, which I feel is one of Dr. Stone's themes. But in the meantime, I make videos about discoveries and making things myself, and self-improvement. So if you enjoyed my work, share this or a previous video of mine with a friend and subscribe plus a bell tap to know when a new video gets released. I'm the Obedient Hero. Explore your true potential and be the hero of your own story.